Your stressful life is making you carry fat or get fat. Actually, it's how hormones and stress actually affect your weight gain. And so I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible and not to use too much jargon or anything like that. And so stress and hormones play a role in weight gain, but stress does not actually make you fat. I was just trying to get your attention with that title. So I'll repeat that. Stress and hormones play a role in weight gain, but stress does not actually make you fat. So some people, I've heard this sort of statement before that stress makes you fat, but it's not actually. Stress physically doesn't put the fat on you, if that makes sense. Okay. So, for example, a stressed person, if they didn't overeat, they wouldn't become fat. You physically have to still eat the food and too much of it to gain weight. And so stress for most people at first suppresses your appetite or their appetite, but then in the long term, it boosts hunger. And this is what, for majority of people, there's outliers, there's always exceptions to the rule, but this is what happens to most people. And most of us become overeaters when we're feeling pressure. And this is because our bodies go into survival mode. We reach a certain level of stress, and what our body does is it thinks it needs to eat more. And so the reason that this happens is because when you're stressed, your body actually thinks it's been using calories, even though you haven't really been using more calories. So you've been probably like frantic, rushing around, meeting after meeting, picking up the kids, like juggling all these things, but you actually haven't been burning the amount of calories that your body thinks it has. So therefore, it kind of makes you hungry. And then the stress hormone cortisol, this rises during stress times, and overeating then becomes just a bit of a habit. And this also spikes your insulin levels, which causes your blood sugar to drop, and that makes you crave fatty and sugary foods as just a bit of a response. So, stress affects the way that you act, and it's definitely not helping you lose weight, but it's not physically making you fat because it's what you're doing when you're stressed that is causing you to gain weight or struggle with weight. Now, you might say to me, I don't eat when I'm stressed. But the reality is, when you're stressed, you're not aware of what you're actually doing. I doubt that you've tracked anything while you've stressed, and you've likely just eaten whatever you can get your hands on, and you've probably been doing it in front of your computer screen or by watching TV or on a phone call or driving or anything like that. And so when you're mindlessly eating, you actually have no idea what you're really putting into your body. And that's why you're stressed, because you don't know, you've got too much going on. And so instead of like a salad or a banana or a protein shake, or you just reach for whatever you can get at the gas station or like the local cafe, and you'll often go for your traditional sort of comfort foods, which are generally way more calorie dense. And eating also helps a lot of people calm down during a frantic time. And this is because I've spoken about before, your body releases like that feel good chemical in response to a food that you have a positive association with. So, for example, if you're someone who's a sweet tooth, your body will tend to crave sugar when you're stressed because your body has that connection with sugar means I feel good afterwards, I like it. Or if you're like a more of a savory person, you might have that exact same feeling towards, say, a pie or a sausage roll. And that's the chemical reaction in your brain, which is causing you to act that way. And so those fatty or those calorie dense foods or those sugary foods, they're big culprits because of our strong love for them. That's deep down inside, that association of goodness that we have to that sort of food. Now, the bottom line with this is more stress equals more cortisol, which equals a higher appetite for junk food, which means more fat. So, yes, stress does aid in you putting on weight and making it harder to put on weight, but it's your actions that are actually causing you to put on the additional weight, not stress. The actions cause it, stress causes the actions. Okay? So, just wanted to be clear on that. Now, when you are stressed, the way that you train can aid in this as well. So you could do like lower intensity training, like strength training, like build or something like that, is actually really good for lowering your cortisol levels rather than putting yourself through super high intensity training. And so, or even something like steady state training, like cardio club at a lower intensity. So you don't want to be doing like super high intensity work, but you could just be like moving and things like that. Extremely beneficial. But really, I want you to get to the bottom of line of why you are getting stressed, and is there a better way for you to manage it? Because at this point, I've just told you not to be stressed, but that's not really going to help you, is it? And so are you getting stressed because of you? Like you just suck at organizing your life, and then you're unorganized and you don't plan your life well enough, and then that means that you're frantic, running all over the show? Or is it an external thing like work that's causing you to be stressed? Or maybe it's things like overcommitment. So, I mean, when I say overcommitment, I mean maybe your kids are playing tons of sport and they've got their homework, and you've got your life and you've got your job and all of that sort of stuff. So you're essentially you're stretched too thin. And so first of all is understanding of where it comes from and actually starting to have that self-awareness so that you can then make improvements or make those changes. And most people, a lot of the time, from conversations that I've had with people, it's because they're stressed because they don't have adequate organization in their life. And so they don't have enough structures and systems in place in order to be able to um, have these routines so that they don't put themselves into frantic situations. So understanding where it comes from, and if it's something like that where it's brought on by yourself, then you can definitely address that. A lot of people, it's actually work related, and it's caused by bosses who have no limits, and they're booking random meetings and they're ignoring those personal boundaries and overcommitting their team to get across deadlines and things like that. And in that regard, I think it's really important that you actually do have conversations to bring the awareness of what your boss is doing to their attention. Because often with a boss or a leader or something, they might not even be aware of the action that they're taking or the way that they're treating you and how that's actually affecting you or causing you to be stressed. And so if you can have those conversations with them and say, hey, the way that you're leading or managing at the moment, I'm finding it really hard to perform to the best of my ability. I think I could work better if we do it like this, and actually go to them with some sort of like productive solution to the problem rather than just telling them that you don't want to work harder, which they probably won't respond to very well. But if you can go with like a productive solution and say, hey, I think this is going to be a more effective way for us to work together. I think I can get more out of my work if we've got more organization. You can reduce that stress, and that's going to benefit you tenfold. So having those conversations to make them aware, go into them with some sort of strategy. If it's overcommitment, a lot of the time there's not much you can do about it except for learn from it. And so that's learning what you felt like now, how miserable that was, and then making sure you don't make that mistake in the next time round. Maybe you don't let your kids play 3 different sports. Maybe I know you want to give them everything and you want them to have this amazing life, but it's a lot, and it puts a lot on your life, and it makes you stressed. And when you're stressed, you're probably not the greatest person to be around. And so you end up giving them this reward in one area of your life, but then you make another area of your life miserable because you're stressed all the time. I'm not here to give parenting advice. I don't have a kid. I'm talking from personal experience. Um, and so it's just understanding that you want to be careful that you don't overcommit yourself to all these different things that are pulling you in different directions, which are causing this stress. Other things that you can do is knowing that you've got something outside of work that is your version of relaxation. Now, things like meditation are really good. Going for walks in nature, like bushwalks and stuff, they're a really good way for a lot of people to de-stress. Reading, music, anything like that, just having some form of de-stress that isn't related to food that isn't just a direct association of eating is going to be a really, really valuable way for you to manage this stress.